and welcome back to another episode of the Lazy Hypnotherapist. I, as always, am your host, Lily. I am a certified hypnotherapist, self-proclaimed lazy hypnotherapist, and trainer of conversational hypnosis. Thank you so much for joining me today, whether you are watching me on YouTube or you're listening to me on your favorite podcast platform. I am so grateful that you're here and that you're interested in the topic of conversational hypnosis, hypnotherapy, the subconscious mind, because all of those things are basically my favorite things in the world to talk about. So, conversational hypnosis, I am obviously a trainer of it. I speak a lot in this podcast about how I use conversational hypnosis, the ways in which you can use it and incorporate it into your practice. But I wanted to share as well that I have a live training coming up on the 17th and 18th of April. So, the way that my training works is that every 12 weeks I hold a live 2-day training over Zoom. And basically, I hold them every 12 weeks, and you can sign up and come along, but also students that have been with me since I started, they come along. So when you sign up, basically you get access to all of the future live trainings because they are such a great way to practice your skills, because we do a lot of demos and things. So they're just a really good opportunity to all get together, collaborate, learn, practice. And basically they run on the Friday night and then the Saturday morning. So it's a really easy way to incorporate it into your life. It doesn't take up like a whole weekend. You don't have to take off any time at work or things like that. We try to make it as doable as possible. And all of the trainings are recorded. So whenever you sign up, you can start learning straight away through the online recorded content, through the trainings, but then there's also masterclasses, Q&As, things like that in there, as well as the Facebook group with all of the other students in it as well. So if you are wanting to sign up and learn conversational hypnosis, incorporate it into your existing practice, you are so welcome to come. I would love to have you there. You don't have to be a hypnotherapist. We actually only have a couple of hypnotherapists in the group. We have counselors, dietitians, nutritionists, kinesiologists, coaches. It's really for anyone that is working with one-on-one clients and wanting to get some deeper, more long-lasting, faster results for their clients. And in particular, people that find within their modalities that they can get stuck in sessions with clients. They're feeling like they can only get them so far. It is for you, and this episode is for you as well. So today I really wanted to speak about what to do with a client who is feeling stuck, who is feeling like they can only get so far in their healing, in their progress. So, I feel like, maybe everyone has probably experienced in client sessions moments where they feel like they just can't progress with the client. And I've certainly felt that when I was practicing more traditional style of hypnosis. I felt like I was sort of going through the steps and the scripts and things and the structure and feeling like, I'd utilized all of the steps, but I wasn't able to get to that next level, or I wasn't able to get them to the point where they had these aha moments and these breakthroughs. And then when I was out of steps, I was kind of like, well, what do I do now? And what conversational hypnosis does is it really bridges the gap there. You always have something to do. You always have a next thing to do. You always have another place to take the session. You always have another question to ask. You always have something more to focus on and notice. So that is why I love conversational hypnosis so much, is you never feel in a session, which is what I have felt before, like almost panicked of, oh my gosh, I don't think I can get this client to where they want to go, or I don't feel confident that I can get them a breakthrough. I don't feel confident that I can get them the results. I go into every session feeling like so confident, and not cocky confident. I don't just take on any client. Absolutely not. But I feel like I have the tools to be able to help this person in front of me get to where they want to go. So, maybe the stuckness might look like in session, a client knowing all the insights. They've got all the insights. They can explain it really well. They can understand the problem and where they're at, but just nothing is moving. Nothing's shifting. And in this moment, as a practitioner, you often feel like, okay, this is where I need to do more. I need to do more. And you put a lot of pressure on yourself of, okay, I'm not getting them to where they need to go. So I need to do more. I need to ask better questions. I need to go deeper. I need to find the breakthrough. I need to say the right thing. And it can be this moment where it feels like you just have all this pressure. But I guess what I've learned over time through trial and error is that oftentimes it's actually not it's not doing more. It's not more pressure on yourself. It's not saying the right thing. It's usually just a really important signal for us as the practitioner that the client's subconscious doesn't feel safe to move out of this stuck state, out of this safe and familiar state. It doesn't feel comfortable and safe to move, to go deeper, to explore more. And it's blocking the client, and as we know, that's a protective mechanism. It's a defense mechanism that our client's subconscious is putting in place, because that is its whole goal, is to keep your client safe. So when a client says, I feel stuck, it's easy to just like take that as face value of like, okay, this is going to be, we need more pressure. We need more force to kind of like break through this brick wall of stuckness. Or to get sort of like really, if your ego gets involved, to get really kind of like butthurt about it and think, oh no, I'm not doing this right. I'm not good enough at this. And it can just kind of really, I don't know, it can really stall things. And so, like I said, it's usually just that subconscious that is just bringing in some protection. And, it's like a part within them that is unsure, that's holding on, that doesn't feel safe changing yet. So if you try push past the stuckness, you often like strengthen it. Like what you sort of, it's like you're sort of putting two forces against each other. It's sort of not going to work, because the subconscious hears like pressure and it responds with more protection. It's like if you just keep going really like intensely with them, they're going to be like, oh, no, unconsciously. And, that means that you're going to be even more plateauing in the session. So I guess what we want to be doing is we want to be creating safety for the client. We don't want to be creating that pressurized environment. We want to be providing a safe, comfortable space for them. And that starts at the beginning of the session. To be honest, that starts before the session. That starts for me on the discovery call, creating that rapport with them for them to feel like this is an incredibly safe space. There is no way that you can do this wrong. And I always let my clients know as well, like, but I'm probably going to ask a lot of questions in this session. Go with whatever first pops into your mind. There is no wrong answer. There's no right answer. We'll just kind of go with it as it comes up. And I find that really helps them, because they don't feel like they need to give me the right answer. A lot of clients have given me the information that with past therapists of different modalities, they felt like they were almost like trying to please the therapist and give them the right answers and make the therapist feel like they were doing a really good job. And, if they bring that up to me, I say I completely understand. Like, I've even done that with therapists in the past before, but you don't need to do that here. Like, give yourself full permission to just go with whatever comes up for you. That could be positive, it could be negative, it could be whatever, it doesn't matter. So creating that space at the start. But when it comes to that specific moment of stuckness, instead of trying to get the client out of stuckness, like that seems like the whole goal, get them out. It's actually almost to embrace it and move it closer, to become curious about it. And this is one of the big things that I tell my students in my conversational hypnosis training is your biggest role in this is to get curious, not to control, not to change anything, not to get them breakthroughs, not to change their life. Your goal is to get curious about what the client in front of you is experiencing. And in that moment, what they are experiencing is feeling stuck. So we want to get curious about that. And by doing that, you let the subconscious feel seen. You let it feel seen rather than pushed or forced. And it responds so much better to that. And that's where language becomes really, really important, because language and tone, language and facial expressions, language and body language, that's where this all really, really comes into play, because the right kind of language, the right kind of response to your client, it can dictate whether the subconscious feels safe, whether it feels pushed or forced, whether it feels okay to be seen, whether it feels okay to move forward and to get curious. So instead of asking something like, why do you feel stuck, which pulls the client, into that analysis, you might ask, what does it feel like to be stuck? What does stuck feel like for you? And I'm really curious about that. Like, what does that feel like to be stuck? We don't need to change it. We don't need to do anything. But what does that feel like? What does stuck actually even mean to you? That brings their attention to actually the experience itself. It makes them be really present in that and go, yeah, how am I feeling about that? What does that experience feel like for me? When I think of being stuck, what actually comes to mind for me? You might say something like, if you weren't stuck and we were moving forward in this right now, what could happen, or what do you fear might happen? What would that mean to you? If we stay stuck here, what does that mean? And just really getting curious about what that experience is like for them. It removes the pressure. They don't have to do anything. Another really good one is like, as you're talking about being stuck, what is happening for you? What are you noticing? As you're experiencing being stuck, what is that actually feeling like for you? It brings that awareness into the present. It slows things down. It allows the subconscious to come forward, because that feeling of being stuck is a subconscious feeling. So it's great. It's like, I always say to my students, if a client is like saying things like, I don't know, or I feel stuck, or whatever, that's subconscious information. Great. We'll use it. It's not a bad thing. It actually is very telling. We just need to understand that it is telling, and we need to get curious about what it is actually telling us. And it's I always say with the questioning as well, the The questioning doesn't need to be the right question. It doesn't need to be the exact right words to ask. It just has to be exactly what you are curious about. Don't try and ask the right question. Don't try and get the wording perfect. Say it as it comes to your head. Simple language is best. So, these questions, they might seem almost like obvious and simple, but that's actually kind of the point, because the subconscious responds to simplicity. It responds to safety. It responds to feeling sort of like resonant with you. That's why we use whatever language that the client is actually giving us. It responds to feeling understood, not to being pushed, forced, or analyzed. And often what you'll notice is that when you stop trying to move the client forward, that's when they actually start to move. There might be subconscious information coming up. There might be a bit of a pause. There might be a bit of a breath, a shift in how they speak. Then something new emerges. Not because you forced it, but because you allowed it and you created the space for it. You said, it's okay to feel stuck. You don't have to feel anything other than that. What does that feel like for you? You allowed them to be as they are. You met them where they are, as opposed to where you think that they should be. This, I find, it takes pressure off my students, because it means that you don't have to do this perfectly. All you need to do is listen. All you need to do is get curious about what is actually going on for them and what that is like for them. And from there, allowing what comes up to come up and using that. So conversational hypnosis is all about subconscious information, utilizing it to help the client in front of you, not getting the perfect question, not doing the technique perfectly, not forcing anything. It is simply about getting to the subconscious of it all and using that. And that's where change happens. Your client feeling stuck is a subconscious information. It's great. Utilize it to help them. I love reframing these ideas of things that oftentimes practitioners feel like is a big hurdle as actually like something that is really, really helpful, and second is something that you can utilize to help your clients. So if you can hear my dog in the background drinking her water, she's having a big old guzzle right now. Sorry about that. But the gal's thirsty. We got to let her. But yeah, I hope that helps you. I hope that it feels a little bit freeing of that is not a stop sign when a client feels stuck. It is an invite in. It is something that you can utilize and something that can really, really help the session move forward. Feeling stuck can help the client move forward. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Like I said at the start, if you are interested in joining my next live conversational hypnosis training, I would absolutely love to see you there. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything, send them on through, and I'm always super keen to have a chat. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you next time.